to record it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so can you please let everyone know that only you have permission to record this, no one else does.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's there's going to be confidential information.
Mm-hmm. Qadrli ishtirokchilar, iltimos bu videoni yozib olmanglar. Men hozir o'zim yozyapman, keyin topshirishimiz mumkin. Buni shaxsan o'z xohishi bilan yozish mumkin emas bu videoni. Okay, let's start. Boshlaymiz.
Beautiful.
Hozir
So just quick.
Yeah. Okay, quick introduction will be from you.
So quickly, so I'm a registered migration agent in Australia. If you would like to use the services of a migration agent, the first thing you need to do is to make sure that the person has a registration. This is the site that you can go to, mara.gov.au. This is the office of the Migration Agent Registration Authority. So this is an official government site where you can check if a person is registered in Australia. So what you do, you click over here. This is just for me to introduce myself, sorry. So then you can see that I am a licensed agent in Australia. I put in my first name, I do a search, and what comes up is my first name here, my surname. This is my company, my registration in Australia, Sydney, New South Wales. Okay, so when I click on this name here, you can see that this is my registration number. Okay, every migration agent in Australia has to have a registration number. This is my status at the moment, I'm registered. This is the last time my registration was renewed. So every year, I need to renew my registration. I need to do extra study, I need to apply, and I need to renew my registration. Okay, and this is my business address. Now, the Australian migration system is very complicated. There's more than 100 visas in Australia, and some of those visas have multiple streams. Just quickly for you to get an understanding, this is a specialized database that contains the migration law, the migration legislation, and you can see over here various types of visas on this side, right? What I'm scrolling down is just different visas that exist for Australia. So there's quite a lot of them, and some of them, as I said, have more than one sort of path, more than one stream. I understand that a lot of the questions that came for this seminar were related for student visas, for work visas, and for tourist visas. It's a bit strange that no one has asked anything about permanent visas that allow a person to live, work, and gain access to Australian health services. But if anyone has a question about that, I'm happy to cover it. So besides this database, this contains a lot of detailed information, but someone who is interested in Australia can also have a look at some of the information on the immigration website. So if, for example, you're interested in a tourist visa, you would type in one of the tourist visas. Now, just letting you know, this might not be the best visa for you, right? I'm just giving you an example. There's many different types of visas. So I'll just go back to so you can see. So if you have a look at this, you have 1, 2, 3, 4 streams over here. And on top of that, there's other tourist visas as well. So it really depends on a person's situation. And you have basic information about this visa here. Now, it's not as detailed as the legislation, as this information here. However, it can give you a little bit of a guide as to what visa might be applicable to you. Now, do you want to start with questions? Do you want to start asking questions? Answering questions? Do you want to choose the questions, or how do you want to do it? Because most of the questions, I think, are going to be in Uzbek. I don't understand. If anyone has questions about some visas, and if you can write in English or possibly in Russian, I'll be able to read and understand it, then I'll be able to answer you. But if you write in Uzbek, I need Shakzoda to maybe she can speak.
Sorry.
You can switch on your microphone, and then you.
Yeah. If someone has a questions, please you can right now ask in English first.
Yep. If not English, I can write in Uzbek or Russian, doesn't matter.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's best if It's best if you write the question in the chat, but it's okay. You can ask that way as well. That's fine. Okay.
I'd like to ask you about a permanent visa.
Okay.
I'd like to bring my family, and how can I do? What type of visa do I have to apply in order to bring my family?
You mean, are you already in Australia or you're outside of Australia?
No, I'm outside of Australia.
Okay, so you want the whole family to migrate. Is that correct?
Yes, I want to
Okay.
migrate with my whole family.
Okay, I understand. So look, it really depends on what visa you'll be eligible for. The main categories of visas would probably be in the skilled sort of sphere. So if you have a particular profession or a particular skill that Australia needs, you may be eligible to apply for one of the skilled visas. You have two types, or more than two types, but you have skilled independent visas. Now I'll share my screen with you so you can understand what I'm referring to. And I can only give you general information here. So you have your skilled visas, independent skilled visas, where you apply for the visa based on points, the amount of points you manage to accrue. There's two visas in this category, or two main visas. And then you have visas which are with a sponsor, with a work sponsor, right? So if you're sponsored by an employer in Australia, you can also obtain permanent residency. And you also have some regional visas, which require you to work in an area that is less populated. So in a nutshell, just to summarize, if you are not in Australia and you want to move to Australia with your whole family, you need to have a profession or a skill if you want to use the skilled pathway, okay? And then there's a lot of visas that relate to that. So we would probably need to get more information about what your situation is to determine if you meet the requirements for any of those visas. And now that's not everything. There's other pathways as well. You have special agreements as well, but these are generally the most common visas that you can use for working or for migrating permanently, or as a stepping stone. Some of them are not permanent visas, but they are a stepping stone to a permanent visa. Okay, I hope this helps. So we have a question in English. Sorry, yes, sorry.
Well, thank you for the answer. And how can, with a Ielts, do I need Ielts to go to Australia?
For most visas you do, yes. For most visas you do. And depending on your profession and depending on which visa you apply for, the Ielts result would be different. And you don't need to always have Ielts. There's other tests you can do, but Ielts, it's probably the most common one, the most common test. Usually you need to get 6 across the board on each component. However, for some visas, you might need a higher result. So let's have a look at the question that was posted in the chat. So hi Laza, how are you doing? I'm good, thank you. How are you? This is from Jahangir. Just wondering if there's any special restriction on Uzbek citizens who apply for tourist visa. I mean, is it harder for Uzbeks to get a tourist visa? Many thanks. Okay. So there is no restrictions that are specifically applicable to people from Uzbekistan. However, there is a difference on the visas you can apply for and on the documents you need to provide based on what passport you hold. And this is because there's different risk levels. So if a country is considered to be riskier, meaning if a person has a higher chance of visiting Australia and then working illegally without permission, or not wishing to go back home, then the chances of success if you apply for a particular visa might be less, right? However, if you meet all the requirements for the visa, if you provide all the documents, if you prove to the case officer that you're a genuine temporary entrant or visitor, then there is no difference whether you're from Uzbekistan or you're from, you know, some other country. The only difference will be the amount of documents that you might need to provide. So it is a little bit more difficult if you come from Uzbekistan. You do need to provide more documents. So for example, if we look at the tourist visas that I mentioned earlier, right? This is the visa here, 600. If you look at the documents that are required, these are just general documents. These are documents that most people are asked to provide. This might not be enough documentation if you are applying from Uzbekistan with an Uzbek passport. If you have a different passport, if you have two nationalities, and you use your other nationalities, it might be easier, or you might be able to apply for a different visa, which is quicker. But if you have an Uzbek passport applying from Uzbekistan, then you would probably need to provide more documents than the ones we see in here, so that you can have a good chance of getting the visa. Now, what documents would really depend on your situation. It's a little bit complex. So if you, for example, have family in Australia and you want to visit them, you would provide evidence that you have family, that you'll be able to stay with them, they will support you, you'll be staying in their house, they can guarantee for you possibly. There's another stream for this. There's another stream we can use. Or if you, for example, are visiting because you want to do sightseeing, then you will be asked to, you can provide documents which are not in this sort of list here, and they're going to be different to the documents you'll be providing if you have family. So to answer your question, it is a little bit more difficult if you have a Uzbek passport, but you're not being prevented from applying, and you're not being prevented from having a tourist visa. It's just that the case officer wants more documents, more information to make sure that the person going to Australia is a genuine tourist, genuine visitor. So I hope that helps. Hope that answers your question. I see, man. Thanks, Laza. Very, very, very. Okay, beautiful. I'm happy that it's useful. So we have another question that was done in the middle. Do I have a chance to get a visa, assuming that I have Ielts score 6 and have skills of a software developer? Yeah, look, software developer is a very good profession at the moment for Australia. Now, whether you have chances to obtain a visa, probably you'll be aiming for a permanent visa, because even though this sounds a little bit strange, it's easier to get permanent visa with a profession of software developer than it would be to get a work visa. So permanent visa is more advantageous. On a permanent visa, your children can, if you have children, your children can go to school for free. In a government school, you can get free health cover. You know, everyone's allowed to work. You can live in Australia as long as you want, and you would have the option to get an Australian citizenship. Okay. Whereas for a work visa, you're only limited, depending on your profession and depending on your situation, you're only limited to up to 4 years of work, and then you have to renew the visa again. So in your case, software developer is a very good profession. It's in a very good list that was specially created for the pandemic, and I'm going to quickly show you that. Give me a second. Let me just open it. So it's in this list here, priority migration skilled occupation list. Now, this list was created by the Australian government specifically to help improve the Australian economy after COVID, because Australia was closed off for 2 years, right? And the priority list has a number of occupations. When we scroll down, software engineer and software applications programmer and developer programmer, analyst programmer are all very similar professions, okay? But all of them are in this priority list, right? So what that means is there's a lot of demand in Australia for computer programmers, a lot of demand, there's a lot of work. And because of that, it's easier to get a visa. And especially, in my opinion, it will be easy. It's a little bit difficult to find an employer to get a work visa, unless you're in Australia already. But then again, it is possible. especially with software developers, to get work and then be sponsored on a work visa, but you also have the opportunity to get a permanent visa. Now, there's other criteria that you need to meet. You need to be a certain age. You need to make sure that you meet the health requirements. You need to make sure that you have the skills assessment. You need to have work experience. There's a lot of other requirements that need to be taken into account to make sure that you can actually obtain either a permanent visa or a work visa. Yeah. And again, as I said, work visas are more complicated because they're made up of 3 stages. You need to have an employer, you need to have a nomination, and you need to do the visa application. Whereas if you apply by yourself for skilled visa, especially now that Australia is opening up and more people are being invited to apply, it's going to be sort of, you apply for expression of interest, and if you're invited, you apply for the visa. But the expression of interest and the visa are quite similar. The information required is very similar. So it's much less work, and it's much, I think it's much easier, right? So and of course, because of that, it's going to be probably cheaper for you. I hope this answers your question. Are you sending me more information? See, many thanks. Okay. Okay, wait. So I'm confusing who's sending me the questions now.
Here's another question. Please pay attention. About language school.
Okay, well, go back.
Jawahar, big sorry that we couldn't reply on time. I just wanted to translate it into English. I paid attention. You have already written it. Please read this question. Now it's in English.
Okay, no worries. Hello, I hope you're doing well. Want to apply for a language school in Brisbane, like 3 months. What kind of requirements are there? How much money I have to pay? How much % to get student visa? Citizen Uzbekistan. Okay. Now, I would suggest, the first thing is I would suggest you apply for a little bit over 3 months, just because student visas are for people who are studying over 3 months. If you're studying under 3 months, you possibly can go on a visitor visa. It really depends on what you want to do, because if you go on a visitor visa, you are not allowed to work. You don't have work rights. But if you go on a student visa, you're able to work. And especially at the moment, there's a lot of work in Australia. Because of these 2 years that Australia was closed, people weren't able to come. So there's a big shortage of workers. I mean, we did a video on this. If you haven't seen it, you can have a look. So student visa allows you to work. Now, if you apply, depending on how good your school is and what kind of risk it has, you will be required to provide different documents, and the risk and the chances of success are different. But let's say you apply for a good school. For 3 months, you're looking at probably about 2,000, let's say 2,500 Australian dollars. This is going to be your school sort of fees for a good school, approximately 2,500 Australian dollars for 3 months. That's about, you have holidays as well though, so there'll be about $220, $250 per week, depending on the school, and you have some enrollment expenses possibly. Now, the school itself has a rating of how good the school is. The better the school, the lower the risk assessment, the better chance for you to get the visa. In terms of money, for 1 year, a person needs to have 21,000 and something. It's just under 22,000. So let's say 22,000 divided by 2 is 11, divided by 2 is 5.5. So you need to show $5,500 in your bank account, plus, let's say, $1,000 for plane tickets, plus the ability to pay for the school, to have a good chance to meet all the requirements for the financial aspects. Right? That's for the financial thing. And then in terms of risk and chances of getting the visa, it really depend on how old you are. It will depend on if you've traveled overseas. It will depend on your education level. So if you're going to university or if you have gone to college, it will depend why you want to study English. So there's a lot of factors that need to be taken into account for me to tell you what your chances are, right? I need to look at your case individually. I need to find out a lot of information about you before I can tell you, okay, look, you have good chances, or you have 0 chances, or, you know, there's a risk of refusal. Without me understanding everything about you, right, professionally, educationally, you know, you travel, your intentions, it's hard for me to make a judgment call. Okay, but the more money you can show, generally, the higher level of education you have, the more you have traveled overseas, the higher chances you would have to being granted a student visa. Yeah. So I hope that helps. We have sorry, there was another question above, I think. Or am I confusing things now? Third visa. No, we answered that. Okay, we saw that.
I have one more question.
Yes.
From the candidate who is in the group. As these members know that we have our Telegram group, Telegram channel, and Instagram. One person, she just wrote this question. Currently, she's in the United States. She is a holder of green card. Can you tell her how she can go to Australia, how she can find a job? She's a lady, and she knows English.
Okay. So if you already have a green card and you live in the United States, if you'd like to go to either study or visit Australia, probably visitor visa would be one of the options for her, so so she can see sort of how Australia is, and to look for a job. If she has a green card and if she's in America, and if she's working in America, her chances and the documents she needs to provide, so her chances are a little bit better, and it's going to be a little bit easier for her to get, let's say, a visitor visa. For a work visa, I cannot really answer because I don't know what her qualifications are. I don't know how old she is. I don't know her English level. I'm not sure what her work experience is, so I cannot really answer in terms of work. I can help her with the visas. I can guide her as to where she can find more information about, you know, finding work in Australia. But it's going to be difficult. I can't help her to find a job. Okay, I cannot help her find a job. I can help her with the visa aspect of things. I can show her how she can look for work, and depending on her profession, she might be able to go for some interviews, and if they're happy to sponsor her, that's fine. If not, it's going to be a little bit more complicated. She might have the option to apply for a permanent, or she might want to study something in Australia and then you know, to improve her skills and qualifications. Then once she finishes, she might want to look for work. Yeah, there's a lot of variables. I can't give her exact answer. Yeah, hope that helps. Sorry, we have a question. I decided to get permanent residency. Where do I start? Could you please give me a link? I can learn all the steps. So probably the first thing you would want to do is have a look at, again, it's not all the information. Where was it? You probably might want to look at this, the skilled occupation list, and you might want to look at the priority list. So this is for Farhad. He was asking me this question. So you might want to look at this list here. Anything apart from that, you would probably need to make a consultation with me, and then I'll ask, or I'll get more familiar with your case. And based on your particular situation, I'll be able to recommend which visas are an option for you and what is the pathway for you. Okay. Without knowing anything else, I don't know what to recommend. Okay. So let's go down a little bit. Thanks so much for your answer. If I travel for more than 12 countries, I have master degree, it will be possible to get a student visa. Another one question, I need to have $5 US. Okay. So in terms of the money, everything is in Australian dollars. Because I'm an Australian migration agent, and I deal with Australia. Everything is Australian dollars, not American. I only work in Australian dollars. So that's 5,500. Yeah, this is a rough estimation based on how much money you need to show to the government, but that doesn't include other expenses. So that doesn't include expenses like school fees and insurance and things like that. But approximately, yeah, for 3 months. Having said that, you've traveled in 12 countries, it really depends which countries you've been to. So if you've traveled in, let's say saying 12 countries, if you've traveled in Tajikistan, Kyrgyzstan, Kazakhstan, all these Central Asian countries, or India, all of these countries are considered to be higher risk. So it doesn't really help you. If you've been to Germany, France, England, America, these countries are considered low risk. Okay, so depending which countries you visited, if you visited low risk countries, rich countries, developed countries, then your risk is lower. So you have higher chances of, well, let me change the way I put this. You would probably meet more of the requirements for this student visa, which in turn would increase your chances or make it a little bit easier for you, yeah, to get the visa. Master degree, yeah, that helps a lot. That's very good. Master degrees are very good. You just have to be careful. You want to study English, that's fine, yeah. Master degree is very good. But again, there's other components like job, you know, what you're working, how long you've been working for, you know, if you own any property. There's a lot of things that need to be taken into account. So what I'm saying here to you today is just general information. It's an overview. It's not 100% the information you need to make a decision, because every person has unique case. Every person has unique set of circumstances. And without understanding everything that could be, could impact your visa application, I cannot give you a straight out answer. I cannot guide you, right? So I need to understand more about you. I'm planning on making a video specifically about student visas, where I'm going to include a lot more information. I'm going to go through the different steps that a person needs to do to apply. I'm going to go through the different requirements. I'm going to go through the different things that are being looked at by the decision makers, by the case officers. And we'll be able to post this, I guess, on Telegram, okay? And I think that will be useful to you. And then if you need any more help, we can help you to find a course, and we can help you to apply for the visa, okay?
Okay, one more question from one candidate.
Yep.
How can I get in touch with you in case I need your help with the application?
Okay, so probably depending on what visa it is, right? If you are ready to apply for a student visa, I need to have a quick chat with you, and I'm not going to charge you anything for that. It's going to be for free, yeah, the consultation for a student visa. But if it's for any other visa, you need to make a booking. So just go to, I'm going to put it in the chat, so you can just go to this website. That's my website. And you can just make a booking through the system. Now, sometimes I'm not going to have bookings for every week. It really depends on how busy I am. Sometimes I have, so just be patient, right? So you can go to visahelper.com.au. You can also see this, oh, that's my email rather, but if you just type in visahelper.com.au, you can make a booking and we can have a chat about your particular case. If it is a student visa, just maybe it's best, Shahzad, if they get in touch with you, and then I'm going to have a quick chat with them for free, okay? If it's for a student visa. I hope that helps.
One more question here from Jawahar Bek. He has finished his master's degree in China, and he has been living in China for 3 years.
Yes.
Can he apply without IELTS?
Sorry, apply for what? Apply for what? What visa?
Apply
I don't understand.
Apply maybe for working, but here it's not written yet what type of visa.
Look, there's over 100 visas, and there's different streams for different visas. So without knowing
student visa.
Okay, you can apply for student visa only to study English. So if you don't have IELTS, and if you have an Uzbek passport, it's risky for you to apply for anything without English, because the case officer can say, I need to see your English, and if you don't have it, they'll refuse you. So the only option, well, not to be safe, you probably need to go and study English, yeah, to improve your English. But you can apply, yes, without IELTS. If you study English, you're fine, because your purpose of study is to learn English. Okay, hope that helps. Now, do we have any other questions? Not yet. I saw someone.
We have left only 2 minutes. Jahangir
Yeah.
Alimov, yes, here entered. Maybe he has
Yeah.
some questions.
Just quickly, because then we need to start, wrapping it up.
Yeah.
Maybe he can connect. Yeah. Instead of typing, he can just ask the question. It's gonna be quicker.
Jahangir Alimov, all fine here. Thanks.
Okay. I want to apply for student visa. How much time I will be allowed in 1 week? How much time will be allowed in 1 week? I don't understand the question. How much time will be allowed in 1 week? Okay. I understand now. Look, it depends on how good. So it really depends on the visa, on what you're studying. Typically, you're allowed to work 40 hours a fortnight. So every 2 weeks, you're allowed to work 40 hours. But when you're in holidays, you do not have limitations. So if you're in an official holiday, you can work as much as you want. You can work 40, you can work 50, you can work 80 hours if you're in a holiday. Also, if your course, what you're studying, has a compulsory work component. So for example, if you are studying to be a chef in Australia and you have to do practice, this is not counted towards your 40 hours of work per fortnight. So if you're doing, let's say, 20 hours every week as part of your course, that's not counted. And the other thing is, because of COVID, because there's such a shortage of workers, there's not enough workers, the government removed temporarily the restrictions for work. So you can, even if you're on a student visa, you can work as long as you want. Now, I'm not sure when this would stop. I'm not sure when this will be reintroduced again, the restrictions. But look, at the moment, it's quite relaxed. Okay, but before you go, we probably need to check if you decide to go to Australia. So yeah, I think this is the last question we can take. Maybe we have to wrap it up.
Yeah,
we have to finish.
You're just the general advice for our
Yes.
followers, because
Yes,
we're going to
advice.
finish it. It's here less than 1 minute left.
Beautiful. Anyway, thank you very much. I have to go as well. Thank you very much for coming in. Thank you. Have a good weekend as well. And yeah, they can follow the channel. They can get in touch with you, and we'll take it from there. Thank you. Bye.
See you next
Bye.
time.
See you next time. Bye.